and you should all be absolutely ashamed of yourselves. Here we go again. Okay. Rachel Hamilton, our newly elected MSP, who as part of our campaign promised to put education first and champion the right of every child. Where are you? Where are you, Rachel? In my opinion, shared by so many others, you're either incredibly incompetent, a flat-out liar, or you're scared. Rachel, in my last video when I done a review of the election results, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. Not even 2 weeks after the election and you've already broken one of your campaign promises. Isn't that a surprise? So, for anyone who hasn't heard or has heard bits and pieces or doesn't exactly know what I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a kind of wee breakdown. Despite months of protests, Scottish Borders Council are still trying to push through the Eyemouth Primary relocation plans. So, what does this actually mean? Well, they're going to extend the high school, right? I mean, that's their plan, isn't it? What SBC are proposing is to shut down the top floor of the high school and shoehorn the primary school in. Okay, so a mixed-use campus, sharing facilities and staff, that's great. No. Now don't get me wrong, there are statistics to prove mixed-use campuses do actually work. Look at Jedburgh, for example. They've got a mixed-use campus. Both schools share a building, share facilities, share resources, and it seems to work. So why are so many people protesting for the proposals for Eyemouth? Well, before I outline the pros and cons, let's take a look at what this community campus proposal will actually look like. So, the current Eyemouth High School building was built in 2009 for a capacity of around 500 students. 16 years later, the building is already at full capacity. Now that's the first problem, as Eyemouth has grown and grown over the years. A school which was originally built for 500 is now over capacity. The second problem is that the current building isn't even structurally sound. Anybody who has ever been to Eyemouth High School knows that that building is falling apart inside out. For one, the building is literally sinking under its own weight. And in the past, sinkholes have literally spontaneously opened up in the playground. I have seen it with my own eyes. Sinkholes opening up out of nowhere. And I kid you not, toilets have literally fallen through the ceiling. Notoriously, in 2019-2020, the sewage exploded in one of the English classrooms at Eyemouth High School, and all the students got covered in waste, and the school had to temporarily get shut down. So you take a building that's already at full capacity and you double that capacity. You take a building that was meant for 500 kids, you add another 500 kids on top. Where do you put them? Well, obviously you extend the current building, right? I mean, is that not the obvious choice? Nah, come on, we're using SBC logic here. Instead of expanding the current building, what Scottish Borders Council are proposing is shutting down the top floor of the high school, that's the art and the technical department, and shoehorning the entirety of Eyemouth Primary School into these two departments. Just let that sink in. That's 500 kids quashed into two departments. Firstly, where do the high school kids go? Well, I don't know. And neither does Scottish Borders Council. Okay, well, what about safety concerns? In one of my last videos, I talked about the rise in violence across secondary schools in the Scottish Borders. However, Scottish Borders Council say that despite the two schools sharing one building, they will be two separate entities, so that basically what means is they'll block off all access to the high school from the primary school. However, Scottish Borders Council then contradict themselves by saying that both schools will share facilities, such as canteens, gyms, staff parking, assembly halls, and so much more. Well, hold on a minute. How can you call that a defined space for a primary school if they're still going to be sharing facilities? That contradicts itself. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, have Scottish Borders Council even seen these plans? Do they even have plans? They don't seem to know what they're talking about. They say one thing one minute, another thing the next. So you're wanting 6-year-olds to share gym changing rooms with 18 and 19-year-olds? Really? I mean, what do I know? Now, I'm not saying that community campus schools don't work, because statistically, it suggests that they do. And consistently, this has been Scottish Borders Council's argument, that community campus schools, shared schools, they work. However, Those buildings are purpose-built. You cannot shoehorn an independent, already built primary school into an already built, independent high school. If they were building the whole thing from scratch and done a new community project, a new community campus that was completely redesigned, then yeah, it could work. But this building's already here, and you're not extending it, you're just renovating the top floor. So Eyemouth High School, in case you've never been in, it's spread across 3 floors. You're wanting to effectively shut down the top floor. We don't know where the high school kids are going to go because you haven't really thought of that yet. And into the space of 2 departments, you want to cram in 500 more 6 to 12-year-olds in a school that's already at full capacity. You want to double it in 2 departments. What? Okay, but let's try and look at this with a bit more balance. So we've spoken a lot about the cons, but what are the pros? So I've done a lot of research into this. I've spoken to a lot of SBC workers and politicians. When I got the opportunity to speak to the SBC Education Department, they were unable to answer any of the questions put to them, nor were they able to provide any statistics, and believe it or not, they hadn't even done a structural report of the current building. And yet, the only statistic Scottish Borders Council has been able to provide for why this is such a great idea is that instead of building a standalone primary school, this way they're going to save some money. So this isn't about the community. By Scottish Borders Council's own admission, this is about saving money. Galashiels Academy, 60.8 million. Peebles, 61 million. Earlston Primary School, 16 million pounds, and that school has a capacity of about 200 kids. Eyemouth Primary School, relocation, 15 million for a capacity of 500 to 600 kids. So hang on, Earlston Primary School with 200 kids gets 16 million, and Eyemouth with 500 kids gets allocated 15 million. Now, I'm not saying Earlston doesn't deserve a great school, because they do. They really, really do. And it's a fantastic school. But what I'm saying is that we pay our taxes too. And you've just put up the council tax again. How can Scottish Borders Council keep on turning around and saying, oh, we've got no money? Well, where is it? Where's the money going? Seriously, we pay our taxes. You keep on putting our taxes up. Where's the money? We pay our fair share and yet get nothing in return. Eyemouth has had to fight tooth and nail for every single 21st century essential. Rachel Hamilton, you claim to champion education and yet you sit there quietly while Scottish Borders Council mortgage our kids' future to save a couple of quid. John Lamont, where are you? When it comes to election time, you're down Eyemouth Harbour with your wee ice cream cone taking a selfie. Oh, I love Eyemouth. And yet when it comes down to serious issues such as defending the rights of children, you're nowhere to be seen. Leslie Munro, Hen, I'm not even going to waste my breath talking about you because you just let everyone walk all over you. So I'm not even going to waste my time talking about you. Julie Peroni, Julie Peroni, how dare you? How dare you? Who do you even think you are? This is all an ego trip for you. When you came down to Eyemouth in, when was it, November? The way you spoke to my neighbours and friends and the way you spoke to me was absolutely disgusting, and you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. These are the people, we are the people that you are meant to protect, and the way you spoke to us was absolutely disgusting. You should be absolutely appalled. Your attitude and your behaviour is absolutely vile. Now, Julie Peroni, welcome back to the Scottish Borders. I heard that during election time you went up north to go and run as a candidate for somewhere up north for the Conservative Party. I was absolutely gutted when you lost. What, did you come in like last or something? I can't remember. I was absolutely heartbroken when you lost. Not because I actually wanted you to win, but because in a really, really selfish sense, I wanted you to win so you could go and terrorise someone else's community instead of mine. And I know that sounds really selfish and poor them, but I'd have much rather you were up north causing destruction than down here causing destruction. Julie Peroni and Rachel Hamilton, when I said in my last video you need to control your party, this is exactly what I meant. You campaigned on this, and now only time will tell if you actually have got the courage of your convictions. Will you defend your party, Or will you stand up and defend the constituents that you were elected by and that you took an oath to protect? All we ask is that you do your job, do what you are paid to do, and follow through on your campaign promises and protect the children of Eyemouth. Because right now, we stand united as a community. We say with one voice, we do not want this dystopian slaughterhouse of a school. My message to Scottish Borders Council is this: you're not going to win. This proposal will never follow through. So stop wasting everyone's time and give the community of Eyemouth what they deserve and what we have been asking for the past 20 years, which is our own standalone primary school. And it's the same as what every other town in the Borders has gotten. Why can't we get one? Now, when you think of Eyemouth, what do you think of? The beach, the sea? Maybe you need to look a bit closer, because behind the picturesque postcard of a little pocket village, we're a stubborn old bunch us, and we will fight this monstrosity in the courts and in the parliaments, because this ain't happening, because we will never back down. And to my neighbours and to my family and friends and colleagues and everyone who lives in Eyemouth and the surrounding area, whether you've got kids or grandkids or not, this isn't a game. This isn't politics. This is real life. And as my granny would often tell me as a kid, shy bairns get nowt. Now, I'm only 18 years old, and I'm prepared to stand up and fight for our town and for the future of our kids. But the question is, are you?